and adversity, the path of blood and of sweat and of suffering. The warpath is the preeminent path of discipline, which is why it leads to freedom. And beyond that, in the end, the warpath, it leads to peace. Chains that have been holding you back. Break the old you. That's where it takes the most effort. And then once you climb up and you start to get altitude, you start to get elevation, gravity becomes weaker. Your old, weaker self doesn't have the same influence that it had. Break the old you. It takes power. It takes effort. Go down swinging. You gotta go down swinging. And I'll tell you this, if you fight with all you've got, more often than not, you won't go down at all. You win. But you gotta make that attitude part of your everyday life, the extra rep. forward and go out in a blaze of glory, fighting with everything you've got, every ounce of energy, every bead of sweat, and every drop of blood, till your last breath. And then, and only then, you can stand down. You can stand down. You can put down your sword, and you can put down your shield. And rest. In peace. Go down swinging. Go down swinging. And give every day everything you've got. Everything you've got. Everything you've got. Everything you've got. Go down swinging.
This is a dead end.
What do you do
Open fast.
when you fail?
All right. Come on, then.
Recently we reviewed that U.S. Army field manual from like World War II era, and it says in that manual, it says, other than death, all failure is psychological. Other than death, all failure is psychological. Other than death, all failure is psychological. Think about that. Just think about that. This failure, this upset, this catastrophe. If you aren't dead, then it's just psychological. It's in your head. discipline does not fail me. I fail discipline. That's what happens on days where I veer off the path and on to the slippery slope of weakness. It isn't discipline's fault. It's my fault. I'm the one that's being weak. It's my fault. I'm the one that's not holding the line. I'm the one that is deciding to take the short-term gratification instead of the long-term domination. When I make that error, when I let discipline down, there's only one thing to do. And that's get back on the path. Get back on it. Get back on the path. Get back on it. Get back on the path. Get back on it. Step it up and go harder and push for it. Get back on the path. Get back on it. When laziness creeps in, it's not discipline that opened the door. It's me. It's me rationalizing and explaining and justifying that laziness. When I decide to take the easy path instead of the righteous path of discipline, that is my decision. That's all on me. That's all on me. It's me deciding to cave to my weaknesses and become a slave to them. And when I make that error, when I let discipline down, there's only one thing to do. Get back on it. Get back on the path. Get back on it. Get back on the path. Get back on it. Step it up and go harder and push for it. Get back on the path. Get back on it. For your transgressions, cleanse yourself in the fire and the suffering of the discipline, and get back on the path. The hard, unrelenting path of discipline. That path that leads to freedom. Weakness. Do I have weakness? I am nothing but weakness. Weakness. Akira. I'm not naturally strong or fast or flexible. I'm certainly not the smartest person in the world. I get emotional over stupid things. I eat the wrong foods. I don't sleep enough. I procrastinate. I waste time. I care too much about meaningless things and not enough about important things. My ego is too big. My mind is too small. Often trapped inside itself. Now, all that being said, I have a saying. A person's strength is often their biggest weakness, but their weaknesses can become strengths. Me, I am weak. In all those ways, I am weak. But everything I've got to overcome those weaknesses and those shortfalls and those flaws as I strive to be just a little bit better today than I was yesterday.
You want to rebel against your parents? Cool. You want to rebel against society? Cool. Rebel by working harder than everyone else. That's the best form of rebellion. Sure, you can go and rebel against them by cutting school, not studying. That is a form of rebellion. And guess what? You're the one that loses. So instead of doing that kind of rebellion, rebel by winning. Rebel by winning. Rebel by winning. Winning. Rebel by getting smarter. Rebel by working harder. Rebel by getting stronger. Rebel by winning.
Instead of going backward, instead of decaying, get stronger, get better, grow and learn and develop and live. Live in defiance of the weakness, in rebellion against the decay. Fight them as they creep in with their offers of instant gratification and immediate rewards. Fight them for every inch they try to take. Do not surrender any ground ever. Hold the line. Hold the line.
Rebel by winning. Rebel by winning. Winning. Rebel by getting smarter. Rebel by working harder. Rebel by getting stronger. Rebel by winning. Rebel by winning. Rebel by winning. Winning. Rebel by getting smarter. Rebel by working harder. Rebel by getting stronger. Rebel by winning.
By winning. I win here and I win there. Now what? Let's just do it. Let's make this thing head on. You were in it to win it. It's either winning or you're losing. Nothing in between. Winning.
I'm pretty happy. I got a good job. I got a good family. I got a nice house. I'm in pretty good shape. Sometimes I skip workouts, and sometimes I sleep in, and sometimes I eat bad. And how can I find more discipline?
Akira.
You could be lying to yourself. That could be the problem. How is that? You can be lying to yourself by saying, I'm really happy. That can be a lie. And there's a chance you are, right? There's a chance. I got a good job. I got a good family. I got a house. I'm in pretty good shape. There's a chance. And if that's the scenario, good. You know what? Don't worry about getting more discipline. You're happy. You got a good job. You got a good family. You got a house. You got a car. Everything's good. That's fine. But there's a chance that that's not fine. There's a chance that you're lying to yourself. Because you know you could be better. And there's something in your mind that's saying you could be better. And you know it. And you know that the way you could get better, and the way you could do better, and the way you could be more is by having more discipline. So, discipline is rooted in the truth we tell ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Discipline truth is I can be in better shape. The truth is I can work harder than I'm working right now. The truth is I can do more for my family. The truth is I can do much better than I'm doing right now. If that's what you believe, if you believe that to be the truth, you won't have to find more discipline. Discipline will find you. It will wake you up in the morning. Have you ever been preparing for something and you didn't think you were ready and you couldn't sleep and you wake up in the morning because it's happening? Isn't that interesting? So, when you're going through life and you truly feel like you could do better, and you could do more, and you truly feel that way, you think about that, you're gonna have a hard time sleeping. Discipline is rooted in the truth we tell ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Discipline is rooted in the truth we tell ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Discipline is rooted in the truth we tell ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Discipline is rooted in the truth we tell ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. If you lie to yourself and say, you know what, I'm good to go. Like, I'm not worried about this operation. We're good to go. I know everything will probably go fine. Sleep all night like a little baby. If you lie to yourself and you're like, I'm in pretty good shape, my family's doing fine, I like this house that I'm in. If that's the lie that you're telling yourself, maybe you can sleep just fine. And maybe it's hard to be disciplined. So what you need to do is you need to tell yourself the truth about what the hell is going on in your life. Do an assessment. Break out a piece of paper and start to write down these things that you claim to be happy about. Pull the stops off. Like, okay, if I could have any house I wanted, is this house the house I wanted? Is it? Is it really? You sure about that? Hey, I'm in pretty good shape right now. You sure about that? If I could snap my fingers in a different physical shape, is this what I would choose? Or would I want to be a little bit better? Would I want to be stronger, faster? Then you gotta ask yourself, you sure about that? Discipline is rooted in the truth we tell ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Discipline is rooted in the truth we tell ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Discipline is rooted in the truth we tell ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Discipline is rooted in the truth we tell ourselves. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. The truth about the situation that you're in. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do. And it should hurt a little bit. It should hurt a little bit. There should be aspects of your life that you know you can improve upon. That should hurt a little bit. Here's the cool thing. Take ownership of those things and guess what? Doesn't hurt at all. Now guess who's in control? You are.
Jocko, focus in a battle is easy. How do you keep focus in a long war?
Akira.
Well, that can definitely be true. It can be pretty easy to focus on the battle that's right in front of your face. And when you're doing that, sometimes you can lose track of the long-term goal. The long-term goal. The long-term goal. Make it happen. Make it happen. The long-term goal. The long-term goal. Never lose sight of it. Ever. I want to have that sight of that goal and years have gone by, you think to yourself, maybe I can't. Maybe I can't do it. And so you give up. You let it fade. And you settle. You settle for mediocrity. You settle for average. You settle for, oh well. But no. Don't do that. Embed that long-term goal in your mind. Burn it into your soul. Think about it, write about it, talk about it, hang it up on your wall. But most important, do something about it. Do something about it every day. Do something that moves you toward that goal, that keeps the goal alive and in sight and in focus. However small or insignificant that step might seem, take it to it. Do that little piece. Make it happen. Make it happen. Because that goal isn't going to achieve itself. It's all on you. We talk about the path, and we talk about discipline, and we talk about living clean. But it is not an easy path. It is filled with temptations and pitfalls and hazards and traps. And it's hard to stay on the path. It's hard to stay on the path. And if you fall off, it can seem even harder to get back on. But you can do it. You can do it. And if you fall off, it can seem even harder to get back on. But you can do it. You can do it. We talk about the path. We talk about discipline. We talk about living clean. But it is not an easy path. It is filled with temptations and pitfalls and hazards and traps. And it's hard to stay on the path. It's hard to stay on the path. You gotta be honest with yourself. Do not be a slave. Don't be a slave to drugs or booze or emotion or whatever weakness is trying to be your master. Don't allow it. Tell the truth. Call out your own weaknesses. Then impose discipline. Impose your will and climb back up onto the path and set yourself free. We talk about the path.
Dead are fortunate. It's the living I pity.
There's times where you're gonna have to do it alone. There's not gonna be any team support. There's not gonna be any family support. There's not gonna be any friend support. There's gonna be times where you've got to go and do it yourself when you gotta do it alone. And those are the times that make a difference. Those are the times that count. Those are the times where you have to dig deep yourself to get the job done. And if you can make that happen, you will win. And if you can make that happen, you will win. There's times where you're gonna have to do it alone. There's times where you're gonna have to do it alone. Let's think about those attributes that a warrior is supposed to have. Courage, self-confidence, self-discipline. What's interesting about those attributes is they're not inherited. They're not passed down in your genes. You don't get personal courage from your mom and dad. You don't get self-confidence from your genetic gene pool. And you damn sure don't get self-discipline in your bloodstream. These are choices that you make. You choose to be courageous. You choose to have confidence. And most important, you choose. You make the choice to be disciplined, to have self-discipline. You make the choice to be disciplined, to have self-discipline. There's times where you're gonna have to do it alone. There's times where you're gonna have to do it alone. So make the right choice by getting up every day and getting after it. The path. The warpath. A path of war. Moving toward a battle. A fight towards war. The actual war against our nation's enemies, or the war against my own weaknesses. That is what I am doing. Preparing. of suffering. The warpath is the preeminent path of discipline, which is why it leads to freedom. And beyond that, in the end, the warpath, it leads to peace. Once you climb up and you start to get altitude, you start to get elevation, gravity becomes weaker. Your old, weaker self doesn't have the same influence that it had. Break the old you. It takes power. It takes effort to break the old you. It takes power. It takes discipline to break the old you. Break those habits, to break free of the chains that have been holding you back. Holding you back. Break the old you. But that hardest part of changing is breaking that gravitational force in the beginning. The stationary inertia of habit that's been controlling you for 7, 10, 15 years. Leave your weak old self behind and go. Get after it. Break the old you. It takes power. It takes effort to break the old you. It takes power. It takes discipline to break the old you, to break those habits, to break free of the chains that have been holding you back. Holding you back. Break the old you. Go down swinging. You gotta go down swinging. And I'll tell you this, if you fight with all you've got, more often than not, you won't go down at all. You win. But you gotta make that attitude part of your everyday life. The extra rep, the extra mile, the extra round, the right choices to make yourself stronger mentally and physically. Stand and fight. Fight against weakness and against fear. And fight against time and decay. Fight back. Go down swinging. Go down swinging. Give every day everything you've got. Everything you've got. Everything you've got. Everything you've got.
Sorry everybody, I was dealing with a bit of a little personal, I wouldn't say emergency, but something really important that felt like I needed to deal with at the time. I believe I've done as much as I can right now, so let's just focus on this. But we're gonna turn some of our good old boy Alan Watts on tonight, I think.
So stand up.
Our discipline was pretty good. Let's feed our minds.
Of glory. Fighting with everything you've got, every ounce of energy, every bead of sweat, and every drop of blood, to your last breath. And then, and only then, you can stand down. You can stand down. You can put down your sword, and you can put down your shield.
But you know, if you talk all the time, you'll never hear what anybody else has to say. And therefore, all you'll have to talk about is your own conversation. The same is true for people who think all the time. That means, when I use the word think, talking to yourself. Subvocal conversation, the constant chit-chat of symbols and images and talk and words inside your skull. Now, if you do that all the time, you'll find that you've nothing to think about except thinking. Just as you have to stop talking to hear what others have to say, you have to stop thinking to find out what life is about. And the moment you stop thinking, you become into immediate contact with what Korzybski called, so delightfully, the unspeakable world. The most ordinary sights and sounds, smells, texture of shadows on the floor in front of you. All these things, without being named and saying, that's a shadow, that's red, that's brown, that's somebody's foot. When you don't name things any longer, you start seeing it. Because, say, when a person says, I see a leaf, immediately one thinks of a spearhead-shaped thing outlined in black and filled in with flat bricks. No leaf looks like that. No leaves. Leaves are not green. That's why Lao Tzu said, the 5 colors make a man blind. The 5 tones make a man deaf. Because if you can only see 5 colors, you're blind.
I was thinking really hard about what he was saying, and then look what happened. I just fucking... I broke down completely, man. I was like, oh my god, Chaos Warrior with shield that's nowhere near me. Let me ult.
And it is only through stopping, fixing conceptions on the world of color and sound that you really begin to hear it and see it.
Play some good league. I think I just want to chill and think in my head while I play.
Let me say again, I'm not talking about the ordering of ordinary everyday life in a reasonable and methodical way as being school teacherish and saying, nice, if you were nice people, that's what you would do. For heaven's sake, don't be nice people. But the thing is that unless you do have that basic framework of a certain kind of order and a certain kind of discipline, the force of liberation will blow the world to pieces. It's too strong a current for the wire.
Healing may be called, Jung says, a religious problem. In the sphere of social or national relations, the state of suffering may be civil war, and this state is to be cured by the Christian virtue of forgiveness and love of one's enemies. That which we recommend with the conviction of good Christians as applicable to external situations, we must also apply inwardly in the treatment of neurosis. This is why modern man has heard enough about guilt and sin. He is sorely beset by his own bad conscience, and wants rather to know how he is to reconcile himself with his own nature, how he is to love the enemy in his own heart and call the wolf his brother, to reconcile himself with his own nature, how he is to love the enemy in his own heart and call the wolf his brother. The modern man does not want to know in what way he can imitate Christ, but in what way he can live his own individual life, however meager and uninteresting it may be. It is because every form of imitation seems to him deadening and sterile that he rebels against the force of tradition that would hold him to well-trodden ways. All such roads for him lead in the wrong direction. He may not know it, but he behaves as if his own individual life were God's special will which must be fulfilled at all costs. This is the source of his egoism, which is one of the most tangible evils of the neurotic state. But the person who tells him he is too egoistic has already lost his confidence, and rightly so, for that person has driven him still further into his neurosis. How he is to reconcile himself with his own nature, how he is to love the enemy in his own heart and call the wolf his brother, to reconcile himself with his own nature, how he is to love the enemy in his own heart and call the wolf his brother. If I wish to effect a cure for my patients, I am forced to acknowledge the deep significance of their egoism. I should be blind indeed if I did not recognize it as a true will of God. I must even help the patient to prevail in his egoism. If he succeeds in this, he estranges himself from other people. He drives them away, and they come to themselves as they should, for they were seeking to rob him of his sacred egoism. This must be left to him, for it is his strongest and healthiest power. It is, as I have said, a true will of God, which sometimes drives him into complete isolation. However wretched this state may be, it also stands him in good stead. For in this way alone can he get to know himself and learn what an invaluable treasure is the love of his fellow beings. It is, moreover, only in the state of complete abandonment and loneliness that we experience the helpful powers of our own natures. How he is to reconcile himself with his own nature, how he is to love the enemy in his own heart and call the wolf his brother, to reconcile himself with his own nature, how he is to love the enemy in his own heart and call the wolf his brother, to reconcile himself with his own nature, how he is to love the enemy in his own heart and call the wolf his brother, to reconcile himself with his own nature, how he is to love the enemy in his own heart and call the wolf his brother. When one has several times seen this development at work, one can no longer deny that what was evil has turned to good, and that what seemed good has kept alive the forces of evil. The archdemon of egoism leads us along the royal road to that ingathering which religious experience demands. What we observe here is a fundamental law of life, enantiodromia, or conversion into the opposite. And it is this that makes possible the reunion of the warring halves of the personality, and thereby brings the civil war to an end. End quote.
Rattling gun, move! Found bomb!
Ian, what do you reckon that is?
Hey, come here, black rat! Where the storm vermin?
Existence, the physical universe, is basically playful. There is no necessity for it whatsoever. It isn't going anywhere. That is to say, it doesn't have some destination that it ought to arrive at. But it is best understood by analogy with music. Because music, as an art form, is essentially playful. You say you play the piano. You don't work the piano. Why? Music differs from, say, travel. When you travel, you are trying to get somewhere. One doesn't make the end of a composition the point. If that were so, the best conductors would be those who played fastest. And there would be composers who wrote only finales. people go to concerts just to hear one crashing chord. Because that's the end. Existence, the physical universe, is basically playful. There is no necessity for it whatsoever. It isn't going anywhere. Existence, the physical universe, is basically playful, but it is best understood by analogy with music. Because music, as an art form, is essentially playful. Say, when dancing, you don't aim at a particular spot in the room. That's where you should arrive. The whole point of the dancing is the dance. Now, but we don't see that as something brought by our education into our everyday conduct. We've got a system of schooling which gives a completely different impression. It's all graded. And what we do is we put the child into the corridor of this grade system with a kind of, come on, kitty, kitty, kitty. And now you go to kindergarten, you know, and that's a great thing because when you finish that, you'll get into first grade. And then come on, first grade leads to second grade and so on, and then you get out of grade school, you go to high school, and it's revving up, the thing is coming. Then you're going to go to college, and by Jove, then you get into graduate school. And when you're through with graduate school, you go out to join the world. Then you get into some racket where you're selling insurance, and they've got that quota to make. And you're going to make that. And all the time, this thing is coming. It's coming. It's coming. That great thing is coming. It's coming. It's coming. That great thing, the success you're working for. Then when you wake up one day about 40 years old, you say, my God, I've arrived. I'm there. And you don't feel very different from what you always felt. By expectation, look at the people who live to retire and put those savings away. And then when they're 65, they don't have any energy left, they're more or less impotent, and they go and rot in a senior citizens community. Because we've simply cheated ourselves the whole way down the line. We thought of life by analogy with a journey, with a pilgrimage, which had a serious purpose at the end, and the thing was to get to that end. Success or whatever it is, or maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing or to dance while the music was being played. Existence, the physical universe, is basically playful. There is no necessity for it whatsoever. It isn't going anywhere. Existence, the physical universe, is basically playful. But it is best understood by analogy with music. Because music, as an art form, is essentially playful.
If you do that, you do at least give yourself a chance. And it may be that when you are in this way freed from busybodiness and being out to improve it, that
your own nature will begin to take care of itself. Because you're not getting in the way of yourself all the time. You will begin to find out the great things that you do are really happening. The great things that you do are really happening. For example, no great genius can explain how he does it. The great things that you do are really happening. Yes, he said, I have learned a technique to express myself. Because I had something in me that had to come out. If I were a musician, I had to learn how music is produced. If I want to describe something, I have to learn a language so that others can understand it. I need a technique. But then beyond that, I'm afraid I can't tell you how it was that I used that technique to express this mysterious thing I wanted to show you. If we could tell people, we would have schools where we would infallibly train musical geniuses, scientific miracle minds. And there would be so many of them, we wouldn't know what to do with them. Geniuses would be a dime a dozen. And then we would say, well, these people are after all not very ingenious. You know, PhDs, how many of them are there? Because what is fascinating always about genius is the fellow does something we can't understand. He surprises us. The great things that you do are really happening. The great things that you do are really happening. For example, no great genius can explain how he does it. The great things that you do are really happening. But you see, just in the same way, we cannot understand our own brains. Neurology knows relatively little about the brain, which is only to say that the brain is a lot smarter than neurology. Yet there is this, which can perform all these extraordinary intellectual and cultural miracles. We don't know how we do, but we did. We didn't have some campaign to have an improved brain over the monkeys or whatever may be our ancestors. It happened. And all growth, you see, is fundamentally something that happens. But for it to happen, two things are important. And the first is, as I said, you must have the technical ability to express what happens. Secondly, you must get out of your own way. The great things that you do are really happening. The great things that you do are really happening. For example, no great genius can explain how he does it. The great things that you do are really happening. Turn into another form of self-improvement. See, here's the dynamics of this thing. And we find this problem, you see, repeatedly throughout the entire phraseology of Zen Buddhism, you cannot get this by thinking. You cannot attain to it by not thinking. As getting out of your own way ceases to be a matter of choice. When you see that there's nothing else for you to do. When you see, in other words, that doing something about your situation is not going to help. When you see equally that trying not to do anything about it is not going to help. Where are you? Where do you stand? You're nonplussed. And you are simply reduced to watching. So you see, when you select an authority who will help you to improve yourself, it's like hiring the police out of your tax money and putting them in charge of seeing that you obey the law. I mean, can't you take care of yourself? I mean, is this the land of the free and the home of the brave, or isn't it? Nobody seems to want to be in charge of themselves. Because they feel they can't do it. As St. Paul said, to will is present with me. But how to do good I find not. For the good that I would, I do not. The evil that I would not, that I do. To will is present with me. But how to do good I find not. For the good that I would, I do not. The evil that I would not, that I do. So there at once, we are in difficulty. Because trying to improve yourself is like trying to lift yourself up into the air by tugging at your own bootstraps. And it can't be done. To will is present with me. But how to do good I find not. For the good that I would, I do not. The evil that I would not, that I do. To will is present with me. But how to do good I find not. For the good that I would, I do not. The evil that I would not, that I do. You can't eat 10 roasts of beef in one day. Can't live in 6 houses at once. Can't drive 3 Rolls Royces at the same time. What do you do? Watch what is going on. Watch what happens. Nobody ever does this. Nobody ever does this. Watch what is going on. Watch what happens. money. You put your money back. Invest it in something else and it'll make more. You don't give a damn how it's made, so long as they make it. You don't care if they foul the rivers, put oil fumes throughout the air everywhere, kill off all the fish. So long as you see these figures happen. You're not aware of anything else. So you see, you went out to do a self-improvement. Making money, you see, is a measure of improvement, a measure of your economic worthwhileness. Or at least that's what it's supposed to be. It isn't anything of the kind. But you went out, in other words, for the status instead of for the actuality. Watch what is going on. Watch what happens. Nobody ever does this. Nobody ever does this. Watch what is going on. Watch what happens. Nobody ever does this. Nobody ever does this. You do an art, you're a musician. Why do you play music? The only reason for playing music is to enjoy it. If you play music to impress an audience, read about yourself in the newspaper, you're not interested in music. So in the same way, why do I come and talk to you? Because I enjoy it. I like the sound of my own voice. I'm interested in what I'm talking about, and I get paid for it. And that's smart in this life, to get paid for what you enjoy. So here's the situation, you see. The whole idea of self-improvement is a will-o'-the-wisp and a hoax. That's not what it's about. Let's begin where we are. What happens if you know beyond any shadow of doubt that there is nothing you can do to be better? Well, it's kind of a relief, isn't it? You say, well, now what will I do? Because we're so used to making things better. Leave the world a better place than when you found it. I want to be of service to other people and all the rest of the hazy ideas. But supposing instead of that, seeing that there isn't really anything we can do to improve ourselves or to improve the world, if we realize that that is so, it gives us a breather in the course of which we may simply watch what is going on. Watch what happens. Nobody ever does this. Nobody ever does this. Watch what is going on. Watch what happens. Nobody ever does this. Nobody ever does this. Therefore, it sounds terribly simple. It sounds so simple that it almost looks as if it isn't worth doing. But you ever just watch? Watch what's happening and watch what you are doing by way of reaction to it. Just watch it happen. And don't be in a hurry to think you know what it is. In other words, people look, say, oh, that's the external world. Oh? How do you know? The whole thing, from a neurological point of view, is happening in your head. That you think there is something outside the skull is a notion in your nervous system. There may or may not be. But it's a notion in your nervous system. You think this is the material world. Well, that's somebody's philosophical idea. You think it's spiritual. That too is somebody's philosophical idea. This real world is not spiritual. It is not material. The real world is simply so could we look at things in that way? Without fixing labels, names, and gradations and judgments on everything. But watch what happens. Watch what we do. But watch what happens. explain from another point of view, which you will at first think highly depressing. But supposing we can't do anything to change ourselves. Suppose we're stuck with it. Now that is the worst thing an American audience can hear. There's no way of improving yourself. Because every kind of culture in this country is dedicated to self-improvement. Just take jogging, that deplorable practice. It's a very nice thing to run and to go dancing across the hills at a fast speed. These joggers shaking their bones, rattling their brains, running on their heels. There's a grimness about it. It's determinately good for you. Why do you go to school? The whole point of coming to school is that you're interested in something. You don't come to improve yourself. But the trouble is that the schools got the wrong idea. They gave people honors for learning. The reward for studying French should be the ability to speak French and enjoy reading French and having fun with French people. But when you get a degree for it, then the degree becomes the point in a game of one-upmanship. And of course, one-upmanship is the main business of the educational community today. You learn all the rules, how to be a good professor. How to be a good professor. Therefore, if we see that you can't outwit yourself, you can't be unself-conscious on purpose, you can't be designedly spontaneous, and you cannot be genuinely loving by intending to love. By intending to love. Either you love someone or you don't. Either you love someone or you don't. If you pretend to love a person, you deceive them and build up reasons for resentment. You say, well, I ought to be honest. That's the beginning. Oh, so many lies you can't imagine. So many lies you can't imagine. Either you love someone or you don't. Either you love someone or you don't. Like when I hear a lot said about love, big love thing on. Everybody's got a love everywhere. When they sing songs about love, do you know what I do? I buy a gun and bar my door because I know there's a storm of hypocrisy brewing. I buy a gun and bar my door because I know there's a storm of hypocrisy brewing. He'll give it to you. And the theologian will tell you, yes, God gives his grace freely. He gives it to all because he loves all. It's here like the air. All you have to do is receive it. Or a more orthodox, a Catholic Christian would say, all you have to do is to be baptized, to take the holy sacrament of the altar, the bread and wine, the body and blood of Christ, and there is the grace right there. And it's given by these simple physical means so that it's very easily and readily available. Well, a lot of people got baptized. And it doesn't always take. People fall from grace. Why do they? You see, we're just talking about the same old problem. But we put it a step up. But it's the same problem. How can I improve myself? Was the first problem. The second problem is, do you want grace? Do you want grace? Do you want grace? Do you want grace? How can I accept grace? They're both the same problem. Because you've got to make a move. Which will put yourself out of your own control into the control of a better. If you don't believe in the Christian kind of a God, you can believe in the Hindu kind of a God, who is your inner self. You see, you've got a lower self, which you can call your ego. That's that little scoundrelous fellow. It's always out for me. But behind the ego, there is the Atman, the inner self, the inward light, as Quakers would call it, the real self, the spirit, which is substantially identical with God. So you've got to meditate in such a way that you identify with your higher self. Now, how do you do that? Well, you start by watching all your thoughts very carefully, watching your feelings, watching your emotions, so that you begin to build up a sense of separation between the watcher and what is watched. Do you want grace? Do you want grace? Do you want grace? Do you want grace? Carried away by your own stream of consciousness. You remain the witness, impassively, impartial, suspending judgment and watching it all go on. That seems to be something like progress. At least you're taking an objective view of what is going on. Of what is going on. You are beginning to be in a position to control it. But just wait a minute. Who is this self behind the self? The watching self. Can you watch that one? It's interesting if you do. Because you find out, of course, that this is just as the problem of grace is nothing more than a transposition of the first problem. How am I to be unselfish? By my own power. It becomes how am I to get grace by my own